Hey there, good afternoon. Welcome into a quick tutorial. I'm your buddy Chapadong. I am senior coach and contributor here at DFSArmy.com, and we're going to talk about the MLB Research Station today in just a really quick tip. I get asked these questions quite a bit. What are KScore? What are WScore? And to be honest with you, those are proprietary metrics inside DFS Army. But I can show you how to calculate them, or at least explain to you what they mean. It's really, really simple. I go into the today's batting matchups. That's the default page. I actually click over to the starting pitching matchups because that's what KScore really is. I scroll over to the chop shop here and I see that when I arrange guys in descending order, all of the big numbers are going to come to the top. All the small numbers are going to go to the bottom. So let me show you how this is going to work for pitching. What a K-score really is just the combined pitching, pitchers strikeout percentage, 35% for Justin Verlander in this case, added to the strikeout percentage of his opponent tonight. So what I'm looking at in earnest is a high strikeout pitcher going against a high strikeout team. That's going to give me a big K-score. If I had the opposite, a low strikeout pitcher going against a low strikeout team, I'd have a low K-score. Now, in there, we're going to get varying degrees. Different pitchers strike out different percentages of people. But when it comes to daily fantasy sports, your strikeouts are oftentimes your floor and your upside. They're very important numbers. They accumulate a lot of points. So we're going to want pitchers who have the ability to strike players out. We're also going to want teams that swing freely, that aren't super disciplined, that don't have a good batter's eye, and tend to strike out. That combination can sometimes give us a high strikeout pitcher facing a low strikeout team and a mediocre K-score, or a mediocre strikeout pitcher and a high strikeout team, which can lead to the best number on the slate. We need to know these numbers at a glance, and that's what this column does. Anything over 500 is strong. I try to find the best combination of K-score, Vegas odds, and price. And so when I'm looking at Verlander, Marquez, Nola, whatever, I see their prices are quite, they're up there. But the difference between 585 and 520, if you're looking at this column right here, is quite significant. So for me to want to get off of that 585 top score, I'm going to need a reason. The player's going to need to be significantly cheaper, or Verlander's going to need to not be a strong Vegas favorite, and Marquez is, whatever. Those three combinations are usually what I'm looking at to pick pitchers. So when I scroll over, now that we know that our 500s go down to about Flaherty, now I can look here at price points and I can say, okay, well, 11, there is a significant difference between Marquez and Verlander. That might, if they both had about the same Vegas odds, that might actually make me want to take Marquez over Verlander as a better value. We know Verlander is the better pitcher, but tonight, the matchup with the Rangers might dictate that the Rockies pitcher is in a good spot. It's worth the gamble. It's a good, smart gamble to make. Now, of course, that's not always going to work out in our favor, but Verlander's not perfect either. So all we're trying to do is select a few pitchers to look at tonight, cut the fluff off of the slate as quickly as possible, and get rid of the trash pitchers. I'm looking for over a 500 K-score. I'm looking for over a minus 150 Vegas odds, and I'm looking for a cheap price. I would be very interested in Ross Stripling tonight because his price is so darn cheap. We know that the Dodgers are favored. As long as he can go deep enough into the game, he's got over a 500 K-score. That puts him competitive with all the way upwards of Marquez for $2,000 less than Marquez. That's how I use that number. It works in the opposite too. You can target these pitchers down here at the bottom as your junk pitchers. These are guys that are facing high contact teams that are low strikeout pitchers. And your Danny Duffys, your Samardzijas, your Malones. These are guys that are bona fide targets tonight. You can use those in conjunction with, Sierra or a high whip or a high home run per 9. Take a look at Tommy Milone. 2 home runs per 9 innings pitched. 4, his ERA should be around a 4.23, something along those lines. And you're looking at a low K-score, which tells me that he is vulnerable. Now, what does W-score mean? W-score is just WOBA. It's the WOBA allowed by a pitcher versus the WOBA of a team that he's facing that night. So now I can go into the WOBA scores for these pitchers. And in this case, low would be good. 450, 436, 435. These are pitchers that aren't going to get roughed up too terribly often in this matchup. And high wobas are bad. 520, 550, 540. Giolito could be vulnerable tonight. That'd be actually, with the industry talking about how they kind of like him, it'd be a nice contrarian stack to take his opponent. Down here, Malone is going to be stacked against heavily tonight. Samardzija is going to be stacked against heavily tonight. Now we know why. The numbers back up what the industry is saying. And this changes every single day, and it goes on and on and on throughout the whole season. But this is a good way to pick pitchers very, very quickly if you're in a hurry. We can flip it over to the batting tab, and we can use it exactly the opposite now. KScore, we would want we would want a low number, which would suggest that our hitter doesn't strike out that often and our pitcher doesn't strike out many people. That would lead to high contact. We would want, a high number in this case would be pretty bad if we get down in here into the 520s and whatnot. And then flip flop it for W score. We would want a high W score. So if I took the batter, this is more of a hitting metric, the W score now. So if I sort this by descending order, now all of my big numbers are coming to the top. I don't really have any kind of a benchmark that I'm looking for here yet, but 705 is pretty darn good. JD Martinez, Jordan Luplow, these guys are going to be very, very popular tonight, and you can see why. You can look at all of the other metrics that you want to, from hard contact to to their regular WOBA, their ISO, their this, their that. And what you're going to come down to is WOBA score is what matters. Yeah, how high of a WOBA does this guy hit for? And is he facing a pitcher that also allows a lot of hits against? If that's the case, the pitcher's going to struggle to get this guy out. So you can filter things out. You can set your own parameters, mess around with it. You can sort position by position by position in this particular case. You could say, I want catchers on FanDuel and first baseman. So I turn those on. If I can get it to click blue, there we go. There's my catchers, my first baseman sorted by WOBA score, right? I should see it coincide somewhat with the DFSA grades, but I've got very, very high WOBA scores here, say down to about 515 on this first page. I think that in this, Muncy, Santana, Vasquez, Sano, Beatty, Garver, whatever, I can find some starters and I can find some valuable guys, right? So I'm looking at 3,800 for Max Muncy. Well, Carlos Santana is not that worse of a WOBA score for 3,200. If I need the $600, this is sort of a similar player in a similar matchup that can produce just as well for a little bit cheaper. Vasquez down here would be a great play at 2,700. Boston is going up against a pitcher that we want to attack. Vasquez has a high WOBA. He hits for some power. If he hits in the middle of the order, he's a premium value play tonight. These are the kinds of things you can quickly sort through by just using that one simple metric out of the chop shop. K-score for pitchers, W-score for batters, sort them in descending order. K-score high is good, W-score for batters, high is good. Sort through that way, play with them, see how you like them. And of course, you can always come to me with more questions. Let me know how they're working out for you. Take care.